G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Caitlin and I'm an American living in beautiful Sydney, Australia. I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video because I am probably not the best person to make this video. The funny thing is I married an Aussie truckie and I am an American who has a paralyzing fear of driving. Yeah, that's right, I'm absolutely terrified to drive. Doesn't matter where you put me behind the wheel of a car and I get scared. But there are so many differences to driving over in the States compared to here in Australia, and since I've lived here for over 2 years, even though I'm not a driver myself, I do think I'm pretty qualified to talk about some of these differences. So grab a bicky, grab a cuppa, and let's get right into this video. Number one, let's get the most obvious one out of the way. Here in Australia, people drive on the opposite side of the road. In the States, we drive on the right-hand side. Here in Australia, we drive on the left-hand side, like most other Commonwealth countries. So naturally, as part of this, the steering wheel is on the other side of the car. And if you're an American who's moved over here, let me know in the comments down below, how many times did you end up accidentally getting into the driver's seat instead of the passenger seat because you were not used to the steering wheel being on the other side of the car? Number 3 are L plates and P plates here, and there is nothing like this over in the States, and I wish there was. Most places in the States you get your learner's permit and then you go on to a Cinderella license and then you get a full license. And a Cinderella license isn't in every state, and it typically means that you can only have so many people traveling in a car with you, you can only be driving up to a certain point during the day. Whereas here in Australia you have L plates and then 2 stages of P plates before you get a full unrestricted driver's license. And on top of that, these are plates that are actually required to be put on the outside of your car. So everybody around you knows that if you're a learner, they need to give you a little bit more space. You are legally required to go slower than other people. If you have a red P plate, you are, again, legally required to only go a certain speed. You can't always go with the speed of traffic. And people understand that around here. A lot of them have had to go through that same system themselves. Some people are sympathetic, others do get really annoyed. But I do wish we had a system like this over in the States because it is so smart. Because in the States you have no idea who's a learner and who's an experienced driver who's been driving for 50 years. Number 4 are different Rego slips that are required. Now there's a pink slip, there's a green slip, there's a blue slip. Each of them have a different meaning to it, whereas over in the States, we don't have this. We have a once-a-year inspection that we have to pass. And I don't know if they still do this in the States, but the one point in time where I did have a car, they used to actually put stickers on the back of your license plate with the month and year of your inspection. And if you didn't have the most recent sticker for that year, guess what? You were getting pulled over and getting a ticket. Here, all of that is electronically tied together, and you need different Rego slips. It's not like every single car needs a green slip, every single car needs a pink slip. It's not like it's one color Rego slip that covers everything. There's different ones. Number 5 are electronic driver's licenses, and again, I think this is something that is absolutely genius that Australia does because it is so convenient to have your driver's license tied to an app on your phone instead of constantly having to have your physical license on you. Because if you're one of those people who routinely forgets your wallet but always remembers to bring your cell phone because you're so used to tap and pay, you have your license on your phone. You don't have to worry about making sure you have your physical license on you in case something happens and you get pulled over. Most places in the States, electronic licenses aren't a thing. And I'm saying most places just to give a little bit of grace. I've never heard of electronic licenses being a thing over in the States, but it's monitored by state, so there are 50 of them. There might be some place where there's an electronic license. In Pennsylvania, there absolutely was not, but it is genius that Australia does this. Number 6 are these small Utes. There is nothing like this over in the States. Over in the States, we're used to pickup trucks. Big, massive, giant pickup trucks, and I swear the further south you go, the bigger the pickup trucks get. Whereas here in Australia, yeah, we're getting slightly bigger Utes going on, but there are also these smaller Utes, like little Holden Utes. And Utes with trays on them instead of having like a full-blown Ute with like 5 seats. They're just different sized Utes over here. Whereas over in the States, you have big, bigger, and massive. Number 7 is that there are a lot more motorbikes on the road over here in Australia than you'll typically see over in the States. And while you might see a lot of motorcycles over in the States when summer comes and people pull them out and start riding around a lot more often, here in Australia it's actually quite common for people to use motorbikes as a means of transportation or a means of commuting back and forth to work. Posties here on motorbikes. You will see posties on motorbikes everywhere around Australia. They're economical, filtering is legal here, helmets are a requirement here if you want to ride a motorbike. While obviously you still have all the typical dangers that come with riding a motorbike or a motorcycle, you're a little bit more prepared and a little bit more safe here in Australia compared to the States. which was something that scared the hell out of me the first time Mark did it. I almost had a heart attack. I'd never been on a motorbike before, and he was filtering at stop signs. I had no idea that that was a thing because in the States, that is illegal. Here, it's not only legal, but between bike riders at least, it's encouraged because it is a safety thing. If you're in a car and you get rear-ended, yeah, you might suffer some damage, but if you're on a motorbike and you get rear-ended, there's a good chance that you're not walking away from that accident. So it's very common for people who have a full motorbike license here to filter. And if you're not expecting it and you didn't know that was a thing, it can scare the hell out of you. Next are mandatory motorbike helmets. Also mandatory bike helmets if you're just riding a regular bike or a push bike. Those are required by law here. Every state and territory requires you to wear a helmet. Over in the States, that's not really a thing if you're riding a motorcycle that a helmet is a legal requirement. In fact, I remember we rented a road bike in Hawaii and the guy gave us a weird look when Mark asked for helmets for us to rent. They had some, and let me tell you, they were probably the crappiest helmets I've ever seen, but technically they were helmets. Whereas here in Australia, helmets for a motorbike are a legal requirement. Not just for riders, but for passengers as well. So if you're riding as a pillion on a motorbike, you are also required to have a helmet. Number 10 is speed limits that are painted on the motorways. It's something so small, but let me tell you, it is genius because I've never ridden on a motorway in the States that had the speed limit painted on. And it is something so small, but so smart, and I wish they had that over in the States. Next are different car brands. There are car brands in the States that you don't see here and vice versa. I've never seen a Holden over in the States, but at the same token, I've never seen a Chevy here in Australia. So coming over here, there were a few new types of cars that I just had to get used to seeing. Holdens are probably one of the most popular ones that I can think of that you don't see over in the States. But yeah, expect to see some new car brands when you are out and about in Australia. Next up, we're seeing roundabouts, even in big parts of the cities here. Where I grew up in the States, roundabouts were not a thing, and they do tend to be a thing more in like the rural areas of the States, or in the more rural states. But I was born and raised in a big city over in the States, and I had never seen a roundabout before I moved to Australia. It just weren't a thing. Over in the States, it is like a four-way stop sign. That is the norm. Whereas here, roundabouts are a lot more common, and statistically, roundabouts are also a lot safer. And last but not least, one thing that trips me up time and time again is calling it petrol instead of gas, which is short for gasoline. I know a lot of Aussies love to say, no, it's not gas, it's petrol. Gas is gas. Gas isn't a liquid. Obviously, it is short for gasoline, but here in Australia, they call it petrol. We call it petrol. I sometimes call it petrol. But that's it for this video, you guys. Let me know if there's anything down below that you think I missed. Because again, I don't drive over here, but my husband's a truckie, and I feel like I at least have enough experience to make this video. So let me guys know if you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I really, really do appreciate the support, you guys. It means so much to me, and I will see you all in my next video.